Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to today's Advisicon Academy training. My name is Amanda Carlson, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator here at Advisicon. We are a group of authors, teachers, consultants, and technologists offering training in Microsoft technologies, project management, and methodology. With attending any of our training sessions, we offer PDUs, as we are a registered education provider with the Project Management Institute. At the close of today's session, I will give some instructions on how you can claim your PDUs and how to contact Advisicon for any questions you may have. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few things so you know how to participate in today's event. If you review the control panel, that should be on the top right of your screen. The audience is muted during this session, so in order to ask questions, you will need to submit them in the questions window of the control panel. This webinar will be recorded and uploaded on the Advisicon YouTube channel for those who could not attend today's session live. Please note that any questions or comments submitted will not display in the recording, nor will any of your personal information be shared. It's now my pleasure to introduce today's instructor, Richard Wentworth, Advisicon Senior Project Advisor and Academy Lead. So without further ado, I'll hand this over and we can get started.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone on the phone and family and friends as well. It's good to be back. Looking forward to a good quarter of webinars that we have, some engaging content that we have booked out for the first quarter here in 2020. So looking forward to it. And so today we're going to be basically focused on Agile Project Management. And we got 30 minutes, so there's only so much stuff we can cover. But Agile PM, Project Management, with a focus on project and planner is what we'll be looking at today. So spend some time going through that. We'll start basically with some concepts. To those of you who are familiar with Agile, or those of you maybe it's a little bit early or relatively new to it, it's okay. So we're going to go through, talk about some of the tools in Office 365, Project and Planner, as well as a couple other complementary tools, and sort of wrap that around the concepts of Agile. And then we'll also basically bounce back and forth between the applications themselves and give you some demos. So we'll go through that, and if we finish all that up and have some time for questions at the end, then we'll take some questions. So without further ado, let's go. Normally I like to have either throw an interesting quote or maybe a poll question in here, but I want to dive right in today and just talk about some of these tools that I use very much daily, on a daily basis, and tell you a little bit more about why I love using them. So let's go. Let's talk about that. So in front of you, what you see here is the 4 values of Agile and basically how they differ from the traditional project management methodology of waterfall. So with these 4 values, and then of course you have the 12 principles, all these come from the Agile Manifesto. So, and really for me, the number one principle that stands at the top of all this of why do we do Agile versus traditional. And I'm a big advocate. I'm a Agile certified practitioner as well as a PMP, so I've had experience doing both. But basically, the number one priority of Agile is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So that's right from the principle number 1 from the Agile Manifesto. So for me, it's about the team collaboration, getting right in, not spending a lot of time worrying about documentation, a lot of planning. It's really diving right in and see how quickly we can deliver value and have the customer get us right back on the right track if they see something it's not what they want. So I love it. I've got experience rolling it out. So if we look at these values really quickly and break these down, individual interactions over processes and tools, it's about the team, and that includes the customer. So, tools and processes, of course, are important, but it's about the communication and collaboration piece. Business people and technical people need to be able to work together. So if we think about it from a fluidity perspective, when dealing with individuals, communication has to be more free and more flexible. If you view communication from a process perspective, it's a little bit more rigid. It requires scheduling, firm scheduling around having meetings and having content to support those meetings, that piece there. So that's that. Less documentation. I'm a big advocate of, not really spending too much time on documentation and really worrying about delivering value to the customer. So, I have a past experience working where I did a large software upgrade project in the healthcare realm for one of the world's largest pharmaceuticals. And, working in that type of environment, supporting those types of customers, you're dealing with technical specifications, requirements, design documents, test plans, validation packages. My word, how I learned the world of validation when I immersed myself in the healthcare IT and regulated industry of the FDA. So dealing with that, and not to mention all the approvals that come with that. So one of the key things is really putting a focus on getting in there, working on the software, and having a less priority of the documentation piece. Right? It's laborious. So it's still important to have it, but not as much. And then again, delivering value as quickly as possible. So that's really, we get that through really more the collaborative nature of doing that. So we welcome the customer to the process. Trust me, if you don't have much experience with Agile, you'll thank me later, as the odds of meeting the needs of the customer when they're fully engaged and collaborating in your Agile project, it's wonders versus spending a long time following a traditional, wrapping everything up, deliver something, and it's not what they want. So very important to have that piece. Okay. Change is okay, so bring it. We welcome it. Welcome the change. Change provides additional value. So allow change. Really open to change, accept it, versus following the plan laid out in your traditionals. So change really can provide value to your project. So embrace it. And then finally, another piece is obviously all this is we want to build projects around motivated individuals. So with your Agile projects, very important to having the full embrace of team collaboration, and you have team members around you that are committed to the whole process, the whole principles of why we do it. So, all right, that's it for the sort of the methodology piece, right? So now we talk about some of the tools, right? So here's the periodic table of Office 365. Now, today's focus, I'm going to really just zero in on Project and Planner, but there are other Agile tools that really come into play that support your needs. So you have Project, you have Planner, you have To Do, you have OneNote, you have Power BI, and then finally you have Teams. I mean, Teams is Microsoft's hub for teamwork. So you can put all these with the ability to have tabs in Teams. You could bring all these applications in one place and be able to do that and be able to access your planner boards and project. And I'll show that a little bit today. So, with Project, powerful time phase, dynamic scheduling engine that gives you the resource capacity planning and forecasting, cost tracking and forecasting. That's the heavy hitter. With Planner, more of a lightweight work management tool, although it's built by the same team at Microsoft that owns the project application. Okay? You have To Do, which is a personal task management tool. You have OneNote that you can utilize, obviously, for powerful note taking. Power BI. Power BI is about 4 years old now. Create visualizations of data from multiple data sources. It doesn't really matter where the data comes from. It'll produce those visualizations for you. So, very important when you're looking to create, take your data and create burn down charts or burn up charts. Very, very easy to do that. Okay? And then finally, Teams. Teams is the place where you can put links to all these various places where you have your content stored. Okay? So again, using these tools, the tools are designed to support methodology, really, and about getting the work done. And what's also important to keep in mind here is that Agile teams in general tend to be more productive, create higher quality products, and tend to satisfy customers on a more consistent basis. Again, it's about delivering value as quickly as possible, satisfying the customer. Right? Okay, so today, like I said, we're going to probably spend most of our time on Project and Planner. And we'll start out with basically the project piece. So this is where I'll toggle back and forth and give you some ideas for how you can really utilize Microsoft Project in an agile manner and during your planning processes. But for now, so if we look at this, the screenshot here, it just shows you obviously built in the project itself, you know, have the ability to actually create sprint projects, different types of Kanban projects as well. Different, depends on what type of what you have. If you have the Office 365 versus if you're working in an offline version like 2016, 2019 may differ. So important to understand that piece and what you have. And then of course we have the sprint boards and planning boards that are built here. I'll show you what those look like. So how you can use your typical Microsoft project entry table to create and lay out your data, but then you actually get this view of being able to see sprint boards and to be able to have flexibility to move those around. So we'll talk about that, how we do that, okay? So let's actually go ahead and do that now. So I'm gonna hit escape, and I'm gonna go ahead and toggle over to project. We'll go ahead and bring this up. And let's go ahead and show project. Okay, so everyone should be able to see project now on the screen. So what we've done here is actually created an example of how you can lay out your schedule with Agile sprints. So in this case, in the concept of using Scrum. So right here, you go through and you have your standard entry table where you enter all your basic information. And you can see there's other things here, including story points, tracking costs, the state here. So you could use state to enter things like done, in progress, not started. We also have some of these other ones as well that we use for the sake of our demo environments. You can see you can actually map these to your sprints, your sprint numbers all the way through. So easily to set up your fundamental board view or sheet view here for your Agile piece. Now, if you go ahead, there's a variety of ways where you can switch gears, the nice switch views here in project. I always like to go ahead and just right click here on the edge and give you some different views. So if I go and collect sprint planning board, this gives you a whole different view of how you can actually view the information versus seeing it in your traditional Gantt chart view. And while you're in this, you have the ability to go in and a variety of things. You can go ahead and map these. You can move these over as you need to. All right, so everything lays out. You can quickly add a new task here and add that in. So new task, and go ahead and click add, and you can move that down here in your backlog. Basically. So very easy for you, very flexible to be able to move things around and give you this view. Okay? So this gives you basically the entire view. You can also go ahead and go and do sprint board itself. So you can focus on a specific sprint. So you can see in this case, what I have here is you have this sprint 4, and I have basically a backlog. And then I have what pieces here have not started, and I can easily move these things over in progress or done as they get progressed, right, all the way through. So you can easily move these around as a traditional planning board. Now I want to call out in project, once you hit this view, you'll see up here that you have a variety of tools you can access. So you click on sprint tools, and this is where you click task board, right? So you can actually toggle between a board or an actual sheet view. If you prefer a sheet view, you have that, so easy to go back and forth. You can go and you have the sprint planning board, sprint planning sheet. You can select whatever sprint you want. So multiple sprints, I can toggle between different types of sprints here. Very easy to go through and look. In this case, where I have everything mapped out as no sprint, treat that as your backlog. Now, if you click manage in this case, you can also go and you can actually specify. You can see the sprints that we have in place. And you can actually go ahead and easily add a new sprint. So if I just have the specs here, you can choose what duration you want and what the sprint date start should be, and then go ahead and click sprint, and quickly add that in right there. If I go back here to the sprint planning board, then you can see Sprint 5 has now been created, and you can start to add tasks and move those over there. So very simple to use that and use this. So one of the ways you can do this is basically be able to use this. There's also things, there's backlog boards that are available that you'll be able to see. So very flexible, very easy to use in project. Okay. Now we'll come back to this because basically you see there's a little icon up here for Planner. So I have actually created a link to Planner board. So we talk about the importance of working with project in Planner. So let's go back and talk about, go back to my deck here, and we'll talk about the next piece. So 1 second. Okay. Okay, so if we go back to Planner, so the next piece here is Scrum boards. So we'd have Scrum boards using Planner or Kanban. So I pulled out 2 different ones, and that screenshot you can see they're actually just a board that I have on my side. So there's other types of, obviously Agile, there's Scrum, there's Kanban, there's the whole series of other ones. For today, obviously Scrum is used. It's considered to be the leading framework used at a higher percentage than all the other ones. And there's reasons why you use one versus the other. So, so according to the Scrum guide, Scrum is lightweight, simple to understand, yet difficult to master. So I like this statement because it talks about the planner application itself, where it's a lightweight work management application. Simple to use, simple to understand, but there's still a lot of power behind it. So working with your teams, it's important to see how you can get the most value out of it to make it work. And because as I showed before, there's linkage that you can set from Microsoft Project over to a planner board. So on our side at Advisicon, we actually use the timesheets capability built in a project. So we have a preference of wanting to keep our project schedules relatively clean and thin. And when we actually want to have lots of detail, we'll create the linkage to a planner board and use these task cards as a means to have provide a lot more detail in that piece. So because now they're connected, you can easily have that linkage and have more detail, and then assign the work for these task cards out to the appropriate team members. So again, it's a Scrum board. The planner piece, really, it's designed for completing user stories and all the associated tasks for those. The difference between having a Scrum board versus using the Kanban is with sprints and Scrum, you have defined start and stop dates. The average sprint, at least from my experience, has been 2 weeks. So you have a start and a stop, whereas Kanban can be designed for a more ongoing process. So the view of it actually looks a little bit differently. So if we go to the next one, you can see that from a Kanban board perspective, if you look at these, we have to do, work in process, done. There's some differences in terms of how some people structure their Kanban boards, but sometimes you actually have blockers, so you can actually call out things that are blocked. But the difference between obviously the Scrum, so if we get back to the Scrum board, the Scrum has backlog, product backlog, and then you can actually lay things out by sprint. You can actually have a separate sprint backlog if you wish, and structure the information that way. Whereas here with Kanban, some of the key concepts is, obviously it's a tool that to visualize the work. Scrum boards are the same way, but here it's really about maximizing efficiency of the team and the people that are doing the work. And you're trying to limit the bottlenecks with this. So one of the best practice, one of the rules of when you're using Kanban is that you should have no more than two tasks in process at one time. And if you try and add a third, it's sort of a warning signal, and make sure that you want to be able to clear out the work and push it to done, get it to done, get it out of work in process before you add something in. So so the Kanban board, you can see you could easily use the planner application to create this type of flow that you see from any of the Kanban boards you may have seen in your past. Okay, so before we do this, I want to jump back and let's actually go ahead and play with the planner application a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and escape out of this. And lastly, bring up the Scrum boards. We'll bring this over. So here you can see right now we have a variety. This is the Scrum board that I was showing, I gave you a screenshot of. So right here, actually you'll see later that there is actually linkage between the project schedule that I showed you and this planner board. But again, you have a lot of flexibility. You can go ahead and add different types of buckets here. You can add brand new ones. You can easily move cards around as you need to. All these things. So however you want to structure your columns, your information, very easy to do so. You can maintain your product backlog, easily add new tasks here as well. Adding a new task is very simple, and then once that task is added, you can click into that, and then you see there's a lot more robust detail that you can add in here. You can use the use of these cards, the use of these flyouts, little post-it note pieces with the color coding. You can edit these to wherever you want to have significance across your teams, right? So they easily stand out. All these, you can go ahead, you can set up different types of filters and grouping by buckets. So you can go ahead and setting things based on priority or labels, what have you. So it really is a useful tool to be able to utilize and structure your work items from your thing, from your project. Okay. And then Kanban basically similar fashion. So you just set it up the same way. And when you have here, obviously you have your task board, but then you have charts. So you can actually go and you actually get some of the metrics. You can output this information to Excel and create burn down charts. You can also work with Power BI to do that. And then you can actually map some of these tasks from a calendar view. So you could drop some of those tasks in there. So my project, the dates are a little bit older, so that's why they don't show in the calendar view. But very easy to use this. So the other piece is, we look at project. We go here. So if we run this down, we go back here. So we can see that we have this ability. So you can go in, and when you are and your main ribbon, you can see if you highlight a row and basically click on the planner, you actually can create linkages to the planner board itself. So I've already basically linked to one up here, so I won't actually link to another one. But once that is there, you can go ahead and you can click on this. And what's going to happen is it's going to go ahead and it's going to pull up the planner board automatically. So it'll actually, once you click on that little icon, it'll come right up. It'll bring you right here. So that's why, going back to my point about how you can simplify, keep your schedule simple, your Agile schedule simple, and really map over here and use Planner as a means to provide more of the detail, and then have the ability to actually use these boards in a very traditional Agile manner of moving and progressing items along as you need to. So that is the integration between project, really allowing you to do that, and keeping your schedules lean, which I know obviously some organizations have a need to have robust, detailed schedules. I'm not saying replace that, but it's definitely a benefit of having that linkage. Okay, and then if we look at this, so if we look and talk about, and we'll go back to the deck here. So here, basically, we talk about how we work those together. So we talk about project and planner. We also talk about tasks. So there's the to-do application. So a task management, another way of funneling all tasks, all your planner tasks into your to-do application as well. So each of these has a practical application and really can support your needs for an Agile implementation, for Agile projects, whether they're big or small. Okay. Okay. So putting them together, again, we talked about how you can easily create these schedules, link them together. have the linkages, have the detail in Planner. Really flexible, robust, great way of being able to structure your Agile projects. Okay. So what I didn't talk about is there's also the concept of teams. So I mentioned some of these other tools that come into play when you're talking about executing Agile projects using some of these tools in the Office 365 suite. So I spend most of my day in Microsoft Teams. So what I end up doing is I end up creating linkages to not only the Project Online Project Center, but I will add in links to specific projects, planner boards, whether planner boards associated with a given project mapped to a customer or a general planner board. I am creating those, so I have access. So I really never have to leave Teams all that often. And now with some coming more integration coming between Outlook and Teams, it's going to be giving me even more reason to stay within Teams. So, the Agile concepts, Agile methodology, it's all about communication and collaboration. So use Teams, embrace Teams. I recommend it to set all of your tools, everything you need to do. Obviously, there's ways to add tabs in Teams as well that give you access to Jira or whatever other types of tools that you may be using now in your organization. So definitely use Teams as your hub. And then I've said before, keep your schedules simple. So use Planner, link to the detailed task cards, and use those. So don't necessarily have to have very detailed, robust schedules if you don't need them. Another thing is utilizing project views and the reporting capability of Power BI. So if we go back and take a look at, I'll actually escape this and we'll go back to the project. So going in here, remembering that you can actually go and change different types of views. So if you click on the view and the ribbon within here and look at your different types of groupings, you could go ahead and do different types. You can have ones here by state. So what is the state of your Agile tasks? Ones that are done, in progress, not started, whether they're Scrum or Kanban, different types there. You have all these different ones. You can base things based on milestones, based on status, variety here. So utilize project. It will give you easier means of give you different types of views with just a click of a button. Or you tie this data in and create the burn down charts and such, wrap it into Excel, or use Power BI to pull that. So very easy to use that. Okay, we'll go back one more time. Finish up, and then obviously focusing on continuous improvement. So this is one of the concepts of Agile, especially with Kanban, right? So it's having a focus on continuous improvement. So continue to use the tools together. Find out how you can use the tools in a better manner. So as you go through a sprint, as you're working in a Kanban board, give consideration to how you're currently using it, or observing how other users are using it, and find out how you can make it more productive for your organization. So always have that focus on improvement as well. And that's about it. That's about it for today. So again, we're going to have, there's so much more we can go into, and actually we're going to be having, we have a detailed Agile Project Management webinar. That's I think, what was it, Amanda? I think it's about 2 hours. That's scheduled for the last week of January. So there's information out there in the event. There's information there in the events page of Advisicon. So be sure to look out for that. I think maybe there might be even some people on the call now that are looking to attend that session. So look forward to having folks join that. So. But that's about it. I don't think I left much time for questions. Are there any questions, Amanda, that came in?
There are questions, but we are out of time. So we will email you directly if you submitted a question.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to 2020. Looking forward to delivering more webinars for you guys this year. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll surely get back to you. And have a great day. And thanks again for listening. Back to you, Amanda.
Yeah, thanks everyone for attending today's webinar. We welcome your questions and feedback, and for more information, you can email us at contact@advisicon.com. Once you exit today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation, and you will need to complete and submit this survey in order to receive your PDUs. From there, you will receive a follow-up email within 2 business days with your PDU information. If you're watching this recording on YouTube or another social media platform, please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And on behalf of Advisicon, Rich, and myself, we thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you participate in future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.